Hey, how you doing? Hopefully you are doing fantastic in terms of how you feel and what you're capable of doing. And if you don't feel fantastic just yet, hopefully you get to the point to where you start to feel fantastic. I believe that regardless of a goal that certain people have, um, that during and definitely after the workout, you should definitely feel fantastic. Not saying that to be weird or funny, but even if you consider that to be weird, I'm good with that. Uh, but you should definitely feel better during and after the workout, especially after the workout. And with this exercise, so this is more just an exercise. If you want to consider it a workout, depending on your schedule, go for it because you're hitting so many muscles by doing this. Some people have an issue with people wearing gloves, using chalk, using hand straps. You do what works for you. You'll hear me say that quite a bit because it's true. If certain things work for you, do that. If they don't, obviously stop or do something different or whatever the case may be. So with this being barbell deadlifts, so I mean it should be simple, but one of the reasons I felt the need to make this video to help you out is with this. Some people make things harder than they have to be, and that's not new information probably. But for me, being an owner and trainer of my business and doing these videos is to help you overcome that, depending on what you need, what you're trying to do. So when it comes to barbell deadlifts and people making it harder than it has to be, not necessarily on purpose. Some people don't know, and some people might think that that's what they have to do. I don't know, but so let's say you put a certain amount of weight on a bar, and that's true for whatever your current ability is. You put a certain amount of weight on the bar, and you try to lift with a certain hand position, uh, which is fine if it seems like it's working for you. But the heavier you go, the more you're going to have to make some kind of change. And it's usually hand position, maybe even foot position, but usually hand position. So if you're deadlifting and you have your hands in here, you're making the exercise a lot harder than it has to be. The interesting thing and kind of funny thing about that, which is not to pick on anyone, but the interesting thing and kind of funny thing about that, again, it works depending on how much weight you have on the bar. I have a guy that I know who I consider our Brody, and I was deadlifting 405, and he decided he wanted to try it for whatever the reason. I don't know if he wanted to convince himself he's as strong as me or whatever the case may be, but he wanted to try it, at least try it. And when he went to do it, he couldn't do it. The interesting thing about that is it's not that he couldn't do it. He just picked a very bad hand position for whatever the reason. I'm not sure if he saw something that made it seem like that was a good idea or whatever the case may be. So thankfully I didn't move when I saw him get ready to do it. And I saw what he did as far as the hand position. He had his hands in here and he tried to deadlift. Let me see, with this weight, I don't even know if I can do that. I don't have experience with it as far as I remember, so I don't even know if I can do it. Plus, it's not as heavy as it's not 405, so. Okay, so with that weight, I can lift, and plus, not that it matters, but this is only 315, so I can do that just fine. So obviously I can do that with that, and maybe with this weight he could have done it too. So then once it gets heavier, what you have to understand is not only having the strength to do it, you have to have the balance to do it, because once you put a certain amount of weight on, now not only do you have to have the strength, now you have to try to make sure the bar isn't wobbling and making it feel heavier than it actually is and could be, depending on what you're trying to do. To where instead, instead of putting your hands on the inside, unless that's what you want to do for whatever the reason that you're doing it, you will spread your hands apart. So again, I think I might try to have my hands inside to see if I can do it. Especially seeing that I have gloves on, so let's see. Again, not that it matters all that much. So again, if it works for you, go for it. But the amount of weight that you're trying to move will make it known whether certain things are a good idea or not, which is the reason I made this video. Okay, so as far as I can remember, I probably did stuff like that in my 20s to where I kept my hands in here. But again, depending on what your goal is and how heavy you're trying to go, coming in here, in my opinion, is not necessarily a good idea depending on how heavy you're going. So again, if it works for you, go for it. But again, my opinion is, one, depending on how heavy it is, you're not going to be able to do that. And depending on how heavy it is likely going to be better for you to bring your hands out here and do it that way. And then I'm not sure how many people make that change, but also the heavier the bar gets when it comes to barbell deadlifts, the more people change their hand position, and it seems to help quite a bit compared to leaving your hands pronated. For those who know what that means, and that just means your palms are facing the floor compared to facing the ceiling. So again, that's just my opinion based off of almost 20, 25 full years of experience doing weightlifting compared to stuff I did before that, the workouts I did before that without weights, due to me not having them available to me. So again, if you want to go with your hands inside, go ahead and do that. But again, this is just because I saw someone try to do that and they couldn't do it. Plus, he's a really tall person. So again, it really depends on your experience, how strong you are currently, your experience, how strong you are currently, and the guy who did this is really tall, or he's over 6 feet, 6'1", 6'1", 6'2", maybe he's just 6 feet. I don't know. It's hard to tell with certain people, but he's at least 6 feet, I believe. So at least the person who I saw do it. So again, it didn't work for him. So I'm kind of surprised it worked for me, even though I'm stronger than a person that I'm talking about. But again, if it works, go for it. It feels different, obviously, because if it didn't feel different, certain people probably wouldn't do it. But if it works for you, go for it. Again, for your sake, it probably doesn't matter. But I got 405 and I did it, and I didn't even know I can do it because I don't do it. So, and I don't know if I'll ever do it again. So, so if it worked for you, go for it. But again, if you can't do certain things, it's usually not that you can't do it. On many occasions, it's not that you can't do it. It's just some kind of change you have to make. Move slower, lift less weight this time. Uh, Slower, lift less weight, take more time in between sets, depending on how much time you take in between sets currently. So again, it depends. And then the awesome thing about it is, um, depending on what stage you're in now, to invest and depending on what you're trying to do and what your budget is to invest in an online personal trainer who can help you the way that I'm helping you now, for those who consider this to be helpful. So, again, instead of trying to do it by yourself and struggling more than you might have to, which is what I love about what I do, trying to make it to where hopefully you end up stronger faster than I did due to me not knowing, thinking I knew more than I did for a while and not making certain changes or making enough changes or doing it soon enough, whatever the case may be for me. So now being able to help you get faster sooner with whatever your current ability is, and as long as you make the time, a few times a week to actually get stronger, because it's not going to just happen, um, then you should be golden. So again, hopefully you get into your stuff, and hopefully it's more about what you can do compared to trying to impress anyone. Um, and you should be good to go. And just make sure you understand that depending on how heavy you're trying to go, it's going to take time. Because even in my late 30s, becoming vegan at 36, coming vegan at actually when I was 35, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe I became vegan at 35, and I've been lifting heavier since I became vegan. And I honestly don't think I would have lifted as heavy once I became vegan. So that's not to tell you to do it unless you want to, and I believe you should. But just to say that if you need to make changes, depending on what changes you think you need to make, go for it. And then the good thing about having an online personal trainer or a certain resource is to help you do things better, possibly faster, and maybe even make it fun. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. This is Martin, owner trainer full of fitness. Hope to see you again.